I'm going to ask the U.S. Attorney, Robert J. Higdon, to come up and start. He has 26 years of experience as a federal prosecutor, and I think he's pretty well known in this area, so I'll just let him come up and start talking.
Thank you, Don. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for coming. It is my privilege to come before you to report on the results of a concentrated and focused warrant enforcement operation that has been conducted here in the Eastern District over the last 3 weeks, and which has targeted individuals who have been charged in federal and state court in Robeson and Cumberland counties in an effort to deal with some of the most violent offenders in each community. I'm pleased today to be joined by our United States Marshal, Mike East, ATF leadership, our elected district attorneys from Robeson and Cumberland counties, Matt Scott and Billy West, and by the leadership of the local law enforcement agencies who participated in this enforcement operation. As many of you know, for the last 18 months or so, my office has been leading an effort to fight violent crime and drug trafficking crime as we take back North Carolina from the criminals who have driven the crime rates up all across the Eastern District. This effort is part of our responsibility to carry out President Trump's directives to the Justice Department to reduce crime all across the United States. Here in the Eastern District, we have divided our efforts into 6 regional teams and have made it our priority to work very closely with our elected district attorneys and with federal, state, and local law enforcement to identify the major crime issues in each area, to identify those offenders who are driving the crime problem, and to remove those individuals from the communities so that we can reduce crime and make our communities safer for law-abiding citizens. One of the major components in any effort to reduce the crime rate is the work of the United States Marshal Service. Historically, the United States Marshals have been the major arm of the federal government that seeks out and arrests those individuals who have been charged in federal court. And in recent years, through the work of regional and district violent fugitive task forces, they have expanded that important work to assist and serve our state court partners in a recognition that the crime issues we all face are best solved with close collaboration between federal, state, and local law enforcement. Thus, any effort to take back North Carolina from violent criminals and drug traffickers must involve the Marshals' warrant enforcement and fugitive apprehension efforts. And we're very blessed here in the Eastern District to have one of the best district task forces anywhere in the country. We could not ask for better or more cooperative partners than the United States Marshals for the Eastern District of North Carolina. Over the last 3 weeks, the Marshals here in the Eastern District have led a warrant enforcement operation, first in Robeson County and then in Cumberland County, designed to target individuals who have been charged in federal or state court to bring those individuals to justice through their arrest. While there are a few individuals who will be facing federal charges, the vast majority of these offenders have been charged with violent crime in state court, or they have criminal records which show them to be violent individuals who are facing charges. Let me break down the results of the enforcement operations. In Robeson County, the Marshal Service led an enforcement operation between June the 11th and June 13th. During that time period, the Marshals District Violent Fugitive Task Force made 73 arrests and cleared 185 criminal charges. Of those charges, 112 were felonies and 73 were misdemeanors. Obviously, those numbers reflect that some of the individuals arrested face multiple criminal charges, including at times a combination of felonies or misdemeanors. During the operation, the task force seized an additional 25 firearms that they believed and could demonstrate were associated with the charged or ongoing criminal conduct, found drugs during 15 of those arrests, and seized $54,100 in United States currency that appears to be associated with criminal conduct. The seized items will be used as evidence in the pending criminal matters or will, where appropriate, form the basis for new and additional charges. Many of the seized firearms and drugs are displayed on the tables in front of you. In Cumberland County, the Marshals Service led an enforcement operation between June 25 and June 27, just last week. During this time period, the Violent Fugitive Task Force arrested 99 individuals and cleared 256 criminal charges. Of those cleared charges, 203 were felonies and 53 were misdemeanors. They located 17 firearms believed to be related to criminal conduct and found drugs during 21 of the arrests. They seized an additional $12,822 in United States currency that appears to be associated with criminal conduct. So in sum, the warrant enforcement efforts in the two counties, which have taken place over the last 3 weeks, have seen the apprehension of 172 violent offenders, the clearing of 441 criminal charges, including 315 felony charges and 126 misdemeanor charges, the removal of 42 firearms from the street, drugs seized during the arrest of 36 individuals, and the seizure of $66,922 in cash that appears to be involved in or is the proceeds of criminal activity. I would also note that my office has reviewed the results of each arrest that took place to determine if the circumstances could form the basis of new or additional charges in federal court. In about 15 of those instances, we will likely bring firearms or drug charges. Presentation of those matters to a federal grand jury for consideration will take place in the coming weeks. I cannot begin to tell you how important this type of effort is as part of our drive to reduce violent crime, remove the worst offenders from our communities, and in our effort to work closely with our federal, state, and local counterparts all across the district in an effort to take back North Carolina from violent criminals and drug traffickers. We are making great progress, and I am extremely grateful to each of the federal, state, and local law enforcement partners represented here today, and to our elected district attorneys for the way they have embraced this effort, their commitment to the safety of the people of this district, and for the hard work that they do every day, and which is exemplified in the effort that was made these past 3 weeks. I can also tell you that this type of enforcement operation will be used in the future here in the Eastern District. The Director of the United States Marshal Service has reaffirmed his commitment to this type of collaboration and cooperation with our state and local partners, and my office remains committed to these efforts as well. We are already planning additional operations within the district, and we will report to you on those efforts when they take place in the coming weeks and months. And I should say this too. The incredible success and large number of offenders who have been arrested should not lead anyone to believe that this effort was an easy one. For each of those arrests, our Violent Fugitive Task Force must plan and prepare. Each time they approach a house or an apartment, each time they encounter one of these offenders, they are aware of the possibility of danger or risk and of the need to take real precautions because of those risks. So don't let the big numbers or the success of the enforcement operations cloud the fact that these officers have put their safety on the line for us in a very serious way over these last few weeks in conducting these enforcement operations. And as a citizen of this district who is raising a family here, I am very grateful for their willingness to stand in that place for me and for my family in an effort to keep us safe. And as their United States Attorney, I am very grateful for their commitment to the mission of the Department of Justice to enforce the law firmly and fairly all across our district. Now let me introduce our United States Marshal for any comments he'd like to make, and then we'll hear from our district attorneys and any of our law enforcement leadership who'd like to speak with you. Mike East was sworn in as United States Marshal just about 3 weeks ago as these operations got underway. But he is no stranger to law enforcement or to the Eastern District of North Carolina. Mr. East served for about 27 years as an agent with the North Carolina State Bureau of Investigation. And as an SBI agent, he worked in a variety of roles, which included the development of operational security plans, crisis negotiation, the investigations of homicides, violent crime, drug crime, public corruption, frauds, child abuse, child fatalities, and a range of other crimes. He has spent the last year as a forensic investigator and analyst on the staff of my office and provided incredible leadership for members of our drug investigation team in that capacity. He was appointed to the United States Marshal position earlier this year by President Trump and was confirmed by the United States Senate in early June. I've known Mike East for many years, and I can think of no finer person to lead the men and women of the United States Marshal Service in the Eastern District of North Carolina, and I look forward to a long and fruitful partnership with him in the coming years. So, Marshal.
Thank you, Mr. Higdon. As Mr. Higdon reiterated too, This doesn't happen very easily. The first people I would like to thank are my supervisor deputy marshals who put this together. This takes weeks and weeks of time and planning. The second group I'd like to thank would be the men and women behind me and the men and women that work with them, because in operations of these sorts, as you can imagine, take a lot of planning. We ran the gamut on the people that we picked up during this operation, and it couldn't have been possible by everybody here. Just a couple of the highlights, the individuals. Javaris Hammonds was wanted for first-degree murder out of Lumberton and robbery with a dangerous weapon. Our teams picked him up. Another gentleman, Michael Alvarez, you might remember him. He was the one who walked away from the Department of Corrections in the middle of our operation, so he picked the wrong day, unfortunately, to make a break for it. He was free for about 3 hours before marshals and TFOs picked him up, and Robeson County Sheriff's Office picked him up. Great work by a gentleman who did that, on top of everything else. Anthony Coar, here out of Fayetteville, 74 years old, charged with violating the terms of his conditional release, having access to a cell phone, and he was charged previously federally for child porn investigations. So these are the kind of individuals that were picked up in this whole roundup. Again, they run the gamut of everything. You can see on the table before you the number of weapons that we took off the streets, and for that I'm very proud and very thankful. As Mr. Higdon said too, this is just starting. We're going to do this all over the district in our effort to take back North Carolina. I want to thank our federal partners, ATF, the gentlemen standing behind me who were a big part of this as well, too, in organizing this. And so with that, we're coming. We're coming to your town next. Thank you.
My name is Matthew Scott. I'm the District Attorney in Robeson County. And first off, I would like to thank everyone in law enforcement who participated in this mission. On behalf of a grateful county and community, I'll say thank you. Thank you for the men and women who knocked on the doors and stood in harm's way every day of this mission to make this community in Robeson County safer. We say thank you. Now, to the citizens of Robeson County, I'd like to tell you that what you see before you is not a one-off. It's not a mistake. It is the new normal. It's the new normal because it is a collaborative effort at the local, state, and federal level to enforce the laws and make Robeson County safer than it ever has been before. It's a collaborative effort that you see before you now, but it's also a collaborative effort that you do not see, that is done between the District Attorney's Office in Cumberland and Robeson, the United States Attorney's Office under the leadership of U.S. Attorney Bobby Higdon. It is the collaboration between the Sheriff's Office, the local police departments, the federal agencies, a collaboration that we have not seen, at least in Robeson County, in years. And for that, we are grateful. We are going to make Robeson County safer for its citizens because men and women are committed to making it safer. And I would like to say thank you to U.S. Attorney Bobby Higdon for this Take Back North Carolina, because it is the take back of Robeson County. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Billy West, District Attorney in Cumberland County. I'd like to thank our federal partners, our state partners, as well as our local law enforcement. I'd echo the comments of District Attorney Scott. It is the men and women that put themselves in harm's way to accomplish these tasks and this operation who really need to be applauded. They, as they do every day, put themselves in harm's way so that we can be safer in this district in Cumberland County and beyond. As U.S. Attorney Higdon outlined for you, they made many arrests, many felony charges, as well as misdemeanor charges for violent offenders. And many of those charges will be prosecuted in our state courts in Robeson County, as well as in Cumberland County and other counties across the Eastern District. And we're committed as state prosecutors to aggressively prosecute these cases, to take these violent offenders and remove them from our community. As always, I want to thank my local law enforcement agencies, Sheriff Enos Wright in the Sheriff's Office, Chief Gina Hawkins in the Fayetteville Police Department, Chief McDuffie with Spring Lake, as well as our other partners here locally. We've now been a part of several of these enforcement actions since I've been district attorney. It's been a pleasure to work with the United States Attorney's Office, particularly U.S. Attorney Higdon, and we look forward to doing this in the future. And I just applaud everybody for their efforts for working together, and I know we're moving in the right direction. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Vince Palazzi, the Special Agent in charge with the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, Charlotte Field Division. Since the inception of ATF, I can say that one of the most critical elements of our mission has been to work with our federal, state, and local law enforcement partners to keep illegal firearms off of our streets and out of the hands of violent criminals. A collaborative effort such as this, I think, illustrates that we keep in that tradition. But more importantly, I think it showcases what law enforcement can accomplish when we work together. And none of this would be possible without the unwavering support of the United States Attorney's Office, as well as the district attorneys that you just heard from. ATF will continue to support these types of initiatives. I think it's important to remove habitual and violent offenders from our communities to ensure the safety of the public. Thank you.
I'm Lodi Ammons, the Assistant Judicial District Manager for Cumberland County Probation and Parole. Just would like to thank everyone, all the agencies involved for what they did coming together. As you can see, we're all on the same team. There were some key words spoken here today: knocking on doors, putting themselves in harm's way, putting themselves at risk. I want to thank all the officers for their long, exhausting hours during these operations. Special thanks to District 16 as well for their involvement. And as you can see, we work as a team, and we're going to continue to do so.
How you doing? Sheriff Ennis, right. I want to piggyback on what everybody was saying here. But a lot of the folks that was knocking on the doors are not sitting in here today. I just want to say, if they can hear me, thank you for a job well done. Because when you can walk away from an operation this size and you know no one is injured or even the perp is injured, that's a good job. That's a good deed. That's a good task. But again, it shows that local, state, federal can come together for one common cause, as to get the criminals off the street. You know, it doesn't matter what size of agency you are or where you stand in law enforcement. We're about taking care of the citizens. That's what we do. So again, I thank the efforts of everybody that was involved.
Good morning. I'm Chief Deputy Howard Branch, Robeson County Sheriff's Office. Sheriff did want to apologize for not being here today. He had a personal issue that popped up, so he couldn't make it. But he did want me to relay this message. Operations such as this display the working relationship of local, state, and federal law enforcement agencies that have come together to combat the criminal element in our county. Many of those arrested are repeat offenders that were in possession of firearms and drugs at the time of their arrest, which clearly indicates the lack of respect for the criminal justice system. Thank you.
Anybody else? Any questions from anybody? Okay. All right, thank you very much. Appreciate you being here.